Hello, and welcome to our weekly Genlock review on Anime Dumpster Dive. I am your host, Jake H. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Anthony.
Hello!
And back from his little hiatus, Coby.
I'm back! Hello!
I missed you so much. It was just me and Anthony last time.
That must have been awful.
He was creepy. He was being creepy.
I heard.
I'm just kidding. I had an enjoyable time, Jake.
It was fun.
Every time.
Every time.
But it's better now that I'm here, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We missed you so.
You missed a hell of an episode, Coby, but
I did. I wish I could have talked about that episode, because that episode was awesome.
Oh my gosh, such a good episode.
You dragged me on my Animorphs trivia knowledge in the comments.
I did, because he was he's not a falcon, he's a hawk. Tobias turned into a hawk. Come on, bro.
I know.
That's like the only thing I know about Animorphs. So, good on me.
Yeah.
Classic.
In your Animorphs knowledge.
You know.
But, I mean, we have a hell of an episode to welcome you back to.
Amen.
Good segue.
Whoa.
Yeah, nothing like announcing a good segue to ruin a good segue.
Yeah, right.
So
it's like really good jokes, you know.
So we're going to talk about episode 4, Training Days. And so this episode, again, I got to give props to where props are due. Anthony called it last discussion, saying that this episode was going to be a montage of training.
Oh man!
Along with he was just like montage of training, and then they get their first mission. And I'm
yep,
like,
yep.
Yeah, I did to that.
I did
I was
it.
just like, Anthony, you're crazy.
I hacked into the system, guys.
Well, I mean, it's like what Anthony called the basketball. Anthony called this.
I'm pretty sure Anthony works on the team of Genlock. He knows what's coming up.
I've been found out. Oh no!
So,
no, I was excited to see it.
I feel like she should. Next time Anthony has a theory, we should put up spoilers for episode 5.
Yeah, because he knows what's going to happen.
The hot takes section now becomes the spoiler section.
So we're sticking with hot take section. Got it.
This in for the hot takes, folks.
I do have to say, though, during the montage where we kind of have that overlay, the voiceover of Dr. Weller giving out the exposition of how the Holons work and what the Genlock program is, I thought that was well done, because that could have just been a boring scene of them just like in a room and him talking, but them showing like it did a good job of combining both the training montage and the info dump in a condensed manner, which I really appreciated.
Yeah, there's only so many ways like you can do an info dump and make it interesting, as long as you have something cool happening on screen, and showing this really kick-ass training montage, which I think it really was from start to finish, was just the perfect way to do it.
Oh yeah, keeps you invested the entire time. Honestly, I thought that it was a pretty cool way to do it. And we also, you know, anytime that I get to hear David Tennant speak as Dr. Weller, I'm happy. So
that is fine with his sinister undertones.
Okay.
I love
Remains
the
to be
part
seen.
with the training montage. You can tell it was an effective training montage, because Kazu started the training montage only cooking eggs for himself, but then at the end he was cooking eggs for everybody to show the progression of teamwork, and just brilliant. Cooking eggs all around.
It was a good subtle way to show team like camaraderie. I can't talk. Camaraderie.
Camaraderie.
New word. Yeah, but it's a good way to really show that camaraderie.
Yeah. And they're learning. They progress much faster than I thought they were going to in their machines, but they were getting the hang of it. They were becoming warriors. Even though, it too. I will say, what's Maisie Williams' character? Is it what's her name?
Cammy McFly.
Cassie. Or Cammy McFly. Cammy McFly should not be operating one of those things. I think she's a tech person through and through. She should not be on the front lines.
I liked it.
Go ahead.
That's my hot take.
Well, it's on that same kind of vein of thought. Like, I really like how they. Oh gosh, I cannot remember Miles' character.
I almost called him Bean or whatever they called him, right? Miles' character is Miguel.
So I really like how they teased that with Miguel and Cammy having that little interaction in between too about how there seems to be some pilot interaction in like taking into consideration when it comes down to the design of their Holons. Mm-hmm. So I'm pretty excited for that. That's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, you can take
Although
over
I do agree,
customize yourself.
Yeah. I do agree. She should not. She should stick to the skates.
Far from field ready.
I like how they kind of hint that her Holon will have to go through out of all of them, her Holon would need to go through the most rework for her to feel more comfortable in. And then we kind of get that scene at the end of the episode where you're like, yeah. So her Holon's going to need work.
Yeah, medic. Yeah.
The just again, a good way to have exposition thrown on you is to when you don't feel like exposition's getting thrown on you, and this was a perfect example of how to do that. Because I felt like I learned a lot about the Holons and the Genlock program, but it didn't feel like I was sitting there and going I have to take notes.
Yeah, it's not like him just sitting in front of the camera talking to you, just like, this is what you need to know. It was presenting it in an interesting and dynamic way.
Effective world building. Also, that's what I want to give them credit for, because I mean they're enveloping me into this world simultaneously while also showing their character growth. That's the biggest thing for me, is when the exposition is shown and you're not just shoved right down my throat. That this is how it should be. So thankfully, I thought that scene was done effectively and also pleasantly as well. I enjoyed the whole scene.
Right.
Talking about the world building aspect of the show, we also get introduced to the ether this episode. And what do you guys think of that? Because initially, when they was go to the ether, I thought it would have been just the internet, kind of it reminded me a lot of the internet episodes of Futurama, where they would go in and they'd have their own avatars and stuff.
Yeah,
but
I thought that too.
But it also reminded me of Second Life and that other game that came out last year where everyone was anime characters.
I will say I did not like that section of the episode. I thought I loved the opening training montage, and I loved the mission at the end, but I thought this kind of break into this virtual reality that ultimately didn't really do anything. I guess there were some light character moments in there, but you're putting forth this concept of this virtual reality where it's you go team building and you can be anything you want to be and you can go on all these different adventures, only to immediately pulled out of it to go on to the main part of the episode, which is the mission, felt out of place. I thought that there should have been more with that. This was the first time watching the show where I was just I wish this episode was longer, because I just thought that section for me did not work as much as it should have with such a cool concept.
I can agree with that. I can agree with that. I think the biggest reason why I have not a really big problem with it. It's a little confusing to me. The whole Genlock program is based on kind of syncing with this, digital world. Basically creating your brain or moving your brain onto a digital space, essentially. So for me, I suppose that the explanation of the ether was kind of cool, and the concept is kind of cool, but it's if that's the main goal, then why don't the pilots have a little more experience? Why wouldn't they be a little more versed? All things considered, the ether is hooking your brain into the internet itself. So when it's you're creating and moving this character, they didn't show any controls. It seems like they're just moving it all either with VR control or it's very Ready Player One, in that sense, mm-hmm. where it's very enveloping. So I guess to me, that's where it gets a little rocky. Could they have shown this particular scene, doing something else, maybe different rec time and stuff like that? Yeah, perhaps. I think that they would have I think it would have been just as effective if they showed these characters doing something else. So I can definitely agree with that. I don't necessarily feel like it was wasted, a wasted opportunity, it's a weak part of the episode. I just felt like it I don't know, it doesn't do an effective job for me, anyways, in explaining, the entire world. I liked that idea, though. It's a cool concept.
I don't like things that feel shoehorned in. And what I felt with the ether in general felt like they wanted to like because they attack like the main like the mission they go on is because the Union attacks like the ether hub, and so that was like to introduce that. But it just felt like we could have had like the ether in an earlier episode, or like maybe even in the first episode we could have gotten a more explanation of what Driana was doing, and they could have used that. But like this one was like, like they're gonna attack the ether hub, so we have to explain what the ether hub is and why it's important. And so I felt like that's why they had that thing in there, like their little get together in there, and then they shoehorned a Ruby reference in. Which
he did.
which is kind of funny, but it took me out. Like the big thing with the show is I'm so immersed in it, and that takes me out of the immersion. Is seeing a clear like the red versus blue line reference in the second episode was subtle. It was nice.
That was cool.
It was like having a little spice on like in a burrito. This was like biting into a burrito and pulling out like a giant jalapeno pepper, like a whole jalapeno pepper, and just going, okay.
What was the Ruby reference?
It was when they changed costumes to a fantasy.
Oh, the fantasy, that was them. Okay.
They were in Ruby character costumes, and it was like the whole ether thing was a little weird. Another thing that happens in the ether, though, is we get introduced to not introduced, but it gets revealed that Valentina is gender fluid.
Yeah,
and she has identified as male before under the pseudonym Val, and I thought this was pretty neat because it's kind of hinted subtly in the earlier episodes where people kept calling her Val instead of fully saying her name. Like Kazu at one point tries to call her Val and she goes Valentina, and Weller does it as well and Valentina. And I think like at first I thought she's like, oh, like, okay, she's just really particular on people pronouncing her whole name, but then it gets revealed with this that that's a completely like separate identity that she identifies at points.
Yeah. All that reveal was Val is great. I mean, I like Val a lot as a character itself, and this just peeled back more layers to that character. So at this point, is she identifying? She's thinking about going back to Val, right?
Yes.
So at this point, she's Valentina. She's Valentina, but she's thinking about switching back. It's great. She was one of the most interesting early on in this series, and it's great to see that sort of, I guess, representation, along with the fact that I like how they don't make it easy, and so like where it's like she admits that she's that, and everyone is on board. Like I think Kazu seemed to have some sort of past, like just some sort of trouble like grasping it, like getting it, because it's tough for him as a character, probably because of his experiences, to understand that. But you can tell he's really trying to work it out to get to that level of acceptance that he needs to be if they're going to be a functional team unit. So I thought they handled that whole section really well.
You can definitely tell that they've taken their time to really delve into the specific characters, and on the surface, like it wouldn't appear, that within just the first episode. But thankfully, as we're delving deeper into this season, you can definitely see that there are layers upon layers to every single one of these characters, and this honestly is just a great representation of the case. If character conceptualization was taking place and they sat down and they all kind of went over the backgrounds on each of these characters, it is definitely represented in the anime. I think that they do an effective job definitely explaining these characters' backgrounds, and not necessarily just shoving it down our throat or making us just assume that that's oh, okay, this is what happened to this person. No, they do an effective job of storytelling, thankfully.
Yeah, it was seamless. I felt like it wasn't like they could have easily have dedicated half the episode to just being like a PSA about like gender fluidity, but I felt like that was fine. Like it was short, sweet, to the point. I now understand that's her character. And that's part of her character, and that's great. It's a good representation.
Yeah.
Also in the ether, I don't know if you guys caught this, but Driana, Chase's sister, is actually in there, and we kind of get a frame of her going like Chase or going Julian, and then like the ether shuts down.
Where?
What?
When?
It's right before it shuts down. They're sitting there and they're going like, what's happening? And then like everyone starts like logging out, and you see her, she goes, and she logs out.
What was I doing during that time?
Seriously.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't see it the first time. I was watching it a second time to get to the robot fight, and I went, wait a minute. I'm like, wait a minute, and I had to look back and see it.
Wow. Oh. So I guess that's the point of the...
That's another point.
Of the ether is to show, because I guess the way it's now Driana's like, oh, he's alive. Mm-hmm. So now it makes his sentence of when he's just like, I didn't want to go back because I didn't know if this was going to work, and then it's going to die twice. Like, I didn't want to take them away from him. But now it's probably even worse that he kept it a secret for so long. Like, so he's going to have to deal with the consequences there.
No.
Yeah. Unless Driana just thinks, hey, man, somebody's masquerading as my brother in this Avatar world.
That's really messed up.
That's pretty messed up.
It's one of those ones where, like, again, like, the ether has all the stuff. Like, the ether sequence has all the stuff that is, like, pretty important to the story. But just, like, the beginning of it is just so awkward that I feel like it does take away from these cool aspects that are hidden in there, or like in our like that. It serves as a device to get to better aspects.
Yeah, right. Definitely layered storytelling in that kind of sense. But like I said before, I think that they do an effective job of kind of building up these sort of aspects. So I like that. I like those little tidbits that kind of make you think and take a step back and observe the episode from a different perspective. That's what I really like about this show. It's intuitive. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I think like it's so much. I didn't like this, like the middle sections. Like on like paper, it's a really cool storytelling technique. So I think like the average stereotypical episode is that they're not vibing together on the teammates as much as in the actual robot fight, and then they take a break and they go to this virtual reality world and they have a fun side adventure, and they come out of that united. But on this one, they're about to have a fun side adventure where nope, that experience is robbed for them. They actually have to deal with real world consequences of being in an actual battle where there's consequences, and that's like on paper, I think that's really cool, subversion of expectations. But the way it was just shoehorned into 3 blocks, like training, virtual world, fight, it didn't flow as seamlessly. I think it goes back to what Jake said, which is like if this was introduced a little bit more in earlier episodes, then maybe I wouldn't have had as much of a problem with it.
Easier to digest. I can definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Another thing, talking about earlier episodes, I have to admit again, I admitted it last episode's discussion, I'm going to say it again. Episode 2, I was like, oh, well, like, should I really care about Julian and Miranda's relationship? I'm so on board now.
I'm so on board too.
It's one of my favorite parts.
100%. Like it's like, man, I want them to work it out. Even though I did, because I'm so invested, like in that sort of resolution. I think Chase, that's kind of unrealistic expectation of Chase. He's like, well, maybe we could try something sometimes. Like, let her live her life. She's been through enough. You're a fucking half person in a tube. Like,
you're a fucking half person in a tube.
He'll be like, yeah, I should have all these pickup lines. We could come, you know where my tube is. Like come stop by. It's like, no.
I mean, yeah, it definitely is one of those ones where you don't know if you kind of want to root for them to get back together, or if you do want to root for them to be to get that closure from like their relationship and like move on. And right now I'm currently team, like, I hope there's some sort of like mass regenerative thing so Chase gets like all of himself back, because I just want them to be happy.
Let's blow her up and like make her into like a graphic level of some sort, or upload their That's why they introduced the ether or this virtual world, the ethers, because eventually they're going to upload their subconsciouses to this virtual world, and we're going to get like San Junipero from Black Mirror and like in that sort of reality with this two love. What's her new boyfriend's name?
Jodi.
His name is Jodi.
Yeah.
What a stupid name. Jodi. Never mind. I'm back on Team 2.
Nothing about his character. He's got a dumb name. So.
Yeah. But he's actually pretty cool, I think. Actually,
yeah, he seems like a pretty decent guy,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the memes I saw with it, it's like, who's going to win? The virgin Julian Chase or the Chad Jodi? Because, fun fact, Jodi's voice actor is named Chad.
Oh.
It's Chad from Screw Attack, if you didn't know. Or, sorry, Death Battle. And now, speaking of Death Battle, we're going to talk about possibly the sequence that everyone's going to talk about. And that is the giant robot fight.
Giant robot fight!
So cool!
It was so well done.
Well done.
Like, again, something that this anime, that this show has done for me, that Ruby kind of struggles with, again, is weight. Is characters doing things that affect the other characters in a fight. And oh my gosh, like that fight with the 4-armed robot was so intense. Like, yeah, when a Holon got punched, you could tell they felt it, and I was like, oh my gosh. Yep. And the choreography is on point.
That. Yeah, I like the lighting, and I love the design of Evil Robot. And just it's cool when robots have cool appendages or cool little ticks about them. And this one having 4 arms was just a great way to flare up what could have been like a very straightforward battle, but it gives it a little extra oomph, a little sizzle to the burrito that Jake mentioned earlier.
Yeah, a little spice, a little. Don't make me stop eating the burrito. Just let me.
I'm not continuing this burrito. I'm not doing it. I'm going to put the burrito down and I'm going to move on to the main course.
What burritos are you having as an appetizer? What's the main course if you start with burrito?
I eat a lot of food, all right, Coby? Moving on to the Crunchwrap Supreme.
Downgrade, but fine.
Okay. Yeah, right. When it comes down to, like, when we talk about how the show effectively, captures our attention, this was the scene. I am so invested. I really, really want to see what the what the bad guys have in store. If this is one of those big bad mechs that they also have access to, like, I am so excited. It made me so much more curious about how did they get the technology, what the heck are they running, and also why can he also control the nanotech? Like, that's garbage. That's so unfair.
It's hacks. He's cheating.
It's hacks. He's hacking. He's cheating. So, honestly, they effectively have created a villain for me to root for the good guys to just absolutely destroy.
I know we've been giving Dakota Fanning props, like, this entire, like, all these discussions for being a very great voice actress, but freaking A, like, bravo Maisie Williams, because I felt like they went and stabbed her while she was recording those screams.
Those are blood-curdling screams.
Yeah, those were believable.
I'm like, I legit felt like bad watching it. Like, I was like, oh my god, like, just screaming.
So what does I don't know if did they answer what happens if you die if your mech is completely destroyed? Because I remember they said, like, your body is okay, but your mind is the most valuable component. So what happens?
Well, it's like you can. What was Dr. Weller saying? You can, like, shatter your consciousness or something along those lines. Basically, if you stay in that particular state for too long, then your brain just it'll get stuck in kind of that loop. Basically, that my head is gone. Oh God, my head's gone.
So
at least that's how I took it. Yeah.
So you'll come out of that, but Maisie Williams would be like, oh, she wouldn't think she has a head in real life.
I think she would be like mentally broken. Like, to the point where she was, like, maybe, like, catatonic. because they even talk about like I thought at one point when that mech's ripping apart the Holon, it kind of reaches for like a battery, or a hard drive, which I imagine is where your mind is uploaded. Yeah. So I think if that gets destroyed and if that gets ripped out, that your mind just is destroyed at that point. Because it's like if you upload something to somewhere and don't make a copy of it, it's there. So I think that will get if that gets destroyed, that's the end of you, and I think that's going to get touched upon again because again there seemed to be like very little downside to using Holons, and so I think as soon as they're like, oh wait a minute, we can fucking die in these, it's going to be a little more risky.
Okay, cool.
Because I know in the comment that you left on the previous video, Coby, you said that they should die in the Holons if the Holons get destroyed.
Yeah, they should do. Yeah, I want some stakes to it. But it's. I guess this is better. There's a run to higher risk. I like instead of just you get punched in the face, you die in real life in the robot. In this one, you go insane, or you run the risk of Animorph style stuck in robot form. So I guess I like this a little better, I guess.
I know you like your character death. And
I wanted Maisie Williams to die. I did. At that moment when she got her head ripped off. I was thinking, you know what? I want this to really hurt the team. And you guys didn't come together as a team, and this is your fault for all that. Yeah.
Holy cow, I thought I was bad.
No,
I thought that I was bad. I am, wow. See, I'm with you, Coby. I think that as far as like, when you're trying to get people invested, I personally feel like grief is oh my gosh. I think that like when the heroes have when it appears that they have absolutely zero chance of winning, I love that. That's absolutely, I love that. So I would have been totally on board with that. It's a like huge shock value. Oh my gosh, that's not going to be my prediction because I've been right every single time. I don't want to tarnish my record.
So. Into existence.
No. But in that sense, like, oh my gosh, I'm right there with you. I think it would have been a really neat idea. It's the same. Never mind. I'm not going to say that. But I think that if she was mortally wounded, I think that effectively I would have been tweeting at somebody. Oh man.
Oh man, those tweets.
Those tweets. But now you don't get them. But effectively, I am definitely still invested. I'm curious to see, where they kind of take this, because when they left it, she could see because she spicy lady. Damn it! What is her name?
Oh my god!
I always forget her name.
I keep calling her Spicy. Really Yasmin.
Awesome.
Yasmin.
She's my favorite pilot right now.
She is definitely my favorite character in the show.
Yeah, I don't know her name, but she's like every time. Yeah, awesome. She's cool.
Yeah. So, but where they leave Maisie Williams, where they leave Cammy, where they leave her character, she's plugged into Yasmin's mech, and she can see. I'm curious to see where where the repercussions of her injuries are. That's what I'm waiting to see.
I'm calling that she will have maybe not the rest of the season, but at least next episode, she'll have little flashes of Yasmin's memories of being in the Union.
Ooh,
and she'll be
that's a good theory.
That is a good theory.
She'll be just little memory residue, when she gets her own body again.
I'm upset I didn't think of that.
I gotta step up my theory game. I just have written over and over again, Dr. Weller is bad. That's all I got.
That's all you got.
I will give a little credit to you, Coby, because during right after the attack with the bad mech, Dr. Weller turns to the general, and they have a moment of recognition, and I think that it's Dr. Weller's definitely hiding something.
I rewound. There was that moment where it seems like it was weirdly shot and edited. It's when Chase goes up to the nanotech bubble, the ether bubble, and he's about to bunk in, and I know he says Doc, and then he's like, do it. But then it cuts immediately to the scene of the bad robot ripping off Maisie Williams' head. Mm-hmm. So when I first saw that, I was like, that's him telling the robot to rip off Maisie Williams' head. But I was like,
no way. That's a little
out very well. That's reaching. Watch it, Christina.
That was reaching.
That rewound it. It was just like, no, that he's literally, Michael B. Jordan's literally asking him, Doc, like, can I enter this? And he's like, do it. I was like, oh, okay. And then he's also in a room full of other people, but
he could easily talk to anyone.
He could be talking to anybody. He's like, do it. It's like, it? So not as much on the Dr. Weller's bad theory front, but I'm hopeful for next week.
All right. So do you guys have any hot takes? We'll hit our hot take section of this that you guys want to bring up.
I should have saved my Dr. Weller for this section then. But...
no. That will be our segue in. You gave your Dr. Weller thing. So how about you, Anthony? Any predictions you're going to will into
existence? I definitely think we're getting a backstory episode this next episode. It feels right for the timing. This is episode 5. I'm not calling it that it's going to be a slow episode. I definitely think it's going to be a slow to start episode, though. I think that we're specifically not trying to railroad, Jake's idea, but we're getting a Yasmin backstory episode. That's what we're going to get.
You think a whole episode dedicated to her backstory?
Devoted specifically to the Union and what Dr. Weller is hiding, because I think that this is the perfect episode to do it. So, and that being said, we're probably going to get an episode devoted to where they're going to move as well. So I think that this is probably like either going to, you know what? No, I'm sticking with this. It's going to be Yasmin, Union, Dr. Weller hiding something. That's what the episode's going to be about.
Okay.
I'm going to piggyback and say I'm going to agree that we're going to get a focus on Yasmin, and I like your theory, or whichever one of you said that Cammy's going to have flashes of Yasmin's mind because of the mind meld.
Yeah.
But I'm going to root that into her character arc. Next episode is going to be because she just got her head ripped off, and because she was the one who seemed most hesitant about being a giant robot fight to begin with, that she's going to not want to do this again because she almost got murdered, but then she's going to see Yasmin's memories and her struggles and what she's been through and realize that this is something worth fighting for.
Oh my gosh.
So much.
Oh my gosh.
Good. I might be disappointed if it's not that.
Yeah. Attention, Gray Haddock. You got a new writer incoming, all right?
That's really just I just copied your guys. It's just
mixed them together. Add a little bit of your own in there.
Yeah.
Isn't that the way to end up on top? You take other people's ideas and make them better.
Just combine ideas.
I'm going to take Anthony's approach here and do something so simple it just might work. And I'm going to say we're going to see Kazu play the guitar.
All right.
Jake's hoping for a win, everybody. Jake's playing for the win.
I need it. My theories in every video we do are just so non-existent.
So yeah, Kazu playing the guitar is a much better, safer option to go with.
Yeah, right.
Well, he has a guitar.
He does have a guitar.
Sure. He's gonna, but that's the season finale material right there.
Is him having the guitar?
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll sing. I'll save that for something else.
He needs his robot to have a guitar too.
Remember this. Remember this. Episode 8. We're getting a Kazu rock. We're getting a Kazu rock concert.
Kazu rock concert.
Episode 8. Yep.
In his robot or out of his robot?
I think it's going to be out of his robot. It's going to be a mix.
Where some scenes are there, like kind of like an end scene. I get it.
Yeah.
We're halfway through.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
What were you going to say, though, Coby?
Nothing relevant. I was just saying, even what's weird, like, I noticed, because the robots were shooting guns, and it's like, somebody had to make those guns. Like, someone had to make a gigantic robot gun. And how do you make that? Like, how do you design that? Do you start with a smaller gun model and just, like, times it by 3 so the robot can hold it? I just wanted to know how that dynamic works.
I think that's how it works. I mean, it's like, I'm sure you don't make a prototype of a car actual size first.
Do you think they told those guys that were developing those guns too? They were just like, "Hey, Johnson, gotta have you build this gun." Oh my gosh, this is going to be giant. What are these for, robots?
No. Who told
Get
you
it done,
that?
Johnson.
And then they shoot it, and they make it, and then they shoot him.
Yeah.
They're like, he knew
Because
too
we can't
much.
tell
He
anybody.
guessed it right away.
Sir, we were going to tell everybody about the robots just a few months down the line. Doesn't matter. Chain of command.
We got to make sure there's no leaks.
Yeah.
Okay, Anthony, how about you tell everyone where they can find us?
You can find us in the description below. As always, thank you, Coby, for being here. You can find the link to the Nerd Blazes podcast down there as well. You guys do some great work over there. Happy to have you. But definitely leave us your hot takes down in the comments. I'm excited to see what you guys come up with. And tweet us at our Twitters down in the description below if you have any Genlock fan theories. We'd love to bounce some ideas off you guys.
All right, Coby, I was going to ask you where they can find you, but
Anthony did it for me.
Yeah,
That's fine. That's fine. He did it really well. It makes it seem more important that he's pitching me for me. So thank you, Anthony.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I like the stuff you guys are doing. The Promised Neverland is a show that I've really wanted to check out. So you've made
we do a weekly review of that. Check that out because that show is awesome. These two are just amazing shows. Jedlock and Promised Neverland.
Coby's having a pretty good winter season right now.
Yeah, seriously.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you so much for listening.